My man.
Yes.
For a lot of people that don't know, I am BayBay, aka Mr. BayBay, aka Hollyhood BayBay, representing Shreveport, Louisiana, by way of Dallas, Texas, the ambassador. And I am sitting down with a good friend, a good ally. It's hard for me sometimes to introduce people that I know with great accolades, you know what I'm saying? But we here with super producer, dot connector. Been doing it way before I've been doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm great. I'm happy that our paths crossed.
Yeah.
Kevin A.
Yeah. Yes, Kevin Alexander.
Yes.
Kevin A. From Oak Cliff.
Yes.
Spoken 67.
Yes, sir. I had
yes,
to bang on you one time.
Straight up Oak Cliff.
Hey, man, it's an honor to sit here before you and to just vibe with you, catch a vibe, get on the same frequency. I would like to know, what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to let the masses know about Kevin Alexander?
Well, first, I wanted to make some things clear. There were some things that went down concerning me almost 20 years ago.
All right.
And I never got a chance to address them. And I never got a chance to introduce myself or explain myself.
Right.
I put a lot of work into the artists. I put a lot of work into the record companies, and I put a lot of work into the sound, but I didn't do anything as far as presenting myself.
Right.
As far as introducing myself to people so they'll know where my music or my production or anything was coming from. I was a little bit too invisible. But I was taught that. We were taught that real producers are not seen, real producers are felt. And I kind of took that to heart, and I think I could have stepped out a little bit, and I'm doing it now because I'm gonna reappear, and I don't want people confused about my presence.
Absolutely. I often feel that way too. You know, we would come from a place where, you know, you just do. You don't have to talk about it, let another man praise you. And sometimes a lot of those people are forgotten about, you know, and we go unnoticed. And so one day you look up and you like, it's like watching sports. I love Terrell Owens. I love Deion Sanders. I love Antonio Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like when they showed off, it's like people paid attention to him. So we learn now it's a balance. Sometimes you have to pop your shit. And if anything, I would love for you to humbly, respectfully pop your shit today. You feel what I'm saying?
I'll do the best I can.
Already, man. So I pretty much know that you're from Oak Cliff, America, the mighty stiff cliff.
Yes.
Producer.
Yeah.
We'll talk about credit, but I just want to know a day in the life of you growing up. How was that growing up in Oak Cliff?
Well, I'm gonna take it from high school days, basically, because music, well, the music thing really hit me when I was in the 8th grade, real hard, because I was going to Dia Holson Middle School, and I'll never forget this. My band director at the time, his name was Emery Kochi.
Oh, so you was in band?
Oh yeah.
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 So that's something else we got in common.
Yeah, the band. When I joined the band, Mr. Kochi would say, Kevin, you don't want to be musically illiterate. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm a percussionist. I'm a drummer. I can play. I'm first chair. What are you talking about? I know paradiddles. I know what? I can read I can sight read any music you put in front of me.
Yeah.
He said, yes, you're a great percussionist, but do you know an E flat, a C sharp from a D natural? You know the dots. You know an 8th note, a quarter note, and a 16th. You're a drummer.
Yeah.
But if I take those same notes and put them on a clef, and we're playing notes instead of just beats,
Yeah.
do you know that? And I was like, no, I can't read music that way.
Yeah.
He said, you don't want to be illiterate.
Yeah, right. Me too. I was illiterate too. Yeah.
So Mr. Kochi took the time. What Mr. Kochi did was he prepared me for Mr. B. And to anybody that knows me knows that I'm very much a product of the David W. Carter High School band.
Okay, then.
And meeting Mr. B, meeting Mr. Baskin and Mr. Sims, Mr. Hutchinson, and those band directors. Mr. Kochi Mr. Baskin, Mr. Sims, Mr. Hutchinson, those are my forefathers. They taught me the composition of music. They taught me how to write music. They taught me how to read music. They taught me how to express myself musically and how to present myself professionally thereof behind the music. So that's kind of my, what I would say, my backbone.
Right.
The me that makes me me.
Yeah.
It comes from there. Everything, and even when I first walked into my first recording studio, it's called the Dream Circle. The cat's name is, well, back in the day, his name was Poncho, but we know him as Care of Yusuf Ben Shimon right now. And when I first went to the studio, he said, man, you're gonna have to learn about MIDI. You're gonna have to learn about syncing. You're gonna have to learn about digital recording. And I was like, man, I just want to play a jam. I just want to impress my friends. I just want a girlfriend, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted to just do it for the shine.
Yeah.
But I learned discipline between being in the band and being in the recording studio. I learned etiquette. I learned discipline.
Yes.
And those things have carried me my entire life.
I say this here a lot of times, man, we should all give our kids a chance to do something around the band.
Yeah.
The band taught us, I think, our motto, and I know our motto was discipline, pride, and organization.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what I would consider my backbone as well. Talking about the Funk Factory.
The Funk Factory actually came from the Carter High School drum section. CC drum section.
Okay,
It was always called the Funk Factory because it's named after Southern University. Southern University drum section is called the Funk Factory.
Oh.
And Southern and the Carter is very much modeled off of, so I was a drum major for Carter my senior year.
Yeah.
So I went to Southern. I didn't stay, but I went to Southern briefly, but I was always immersed in band culture. I come from band culture. So understanding Mr. B and Mrs. even Doc, who was at that time the band director at Southern, fell in love with Doc. You know, great guy. You know, I'm sorry he's passed, but he had a lot to do with the me that makes me me as well.
Right. I went to Grambling. And I
Meeting's over.
No, it's our stories are similar. You know, I was music illiterate as well.
Yeah.
You feel me? And my band director told me that he was going to teach, and I went to Grambling and didn't stay. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny sitting here like chopping it up with you and realizing the similarities of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Talking about the making of a stand-up guy.
Well, here's the thing. I got two intros to the music business. One that's official, one that's not official.
Yeah.
Now, one of my band directors, Errol Sims, his cousin was Terrell Broom. Terrell was the regional manager for Warner Brothers Records. Okay, now Terrell was from New Orleans. And Terrell wasn't trying to leave New Orleans, but he was based out of Dallas.
Wow.
So he was like, Kev, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to run the office. I need you to answer phones. I need to, you know, if anybody calls for me, I'm not here. Call me and I'll call them right back.
Right.
So Italian guy comes down from New York. Okay. So-and-so and so-and-so Warner Brothers Records. Italian accent.
Yeah.
Follow me. You know where I'm going with this, right? Those out there in the TV land, use your imagination. Hey, I'm looking for Terrell. Tell him I'm here. I'm like, well, I'm here. I can handle the business. Deal with me. He said, I didn't ask you. I want to speak to him. I said, well, I'm here.
Wow.
He said, okay. Get Terrell Broom. I'm going to ask you one more time. So I had to level with him. Say he's not here. He's out of town. He went home to visit, blah, 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 blah. I didn't know who this guy was. I was just...
He scared shit at you.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So he calls Warner Brothers. He said, this Kevin Alexander, I like this guy. He's a stand-up guy. He didn't know who I was. He didn't bend, bow, buckle, or break. Yeah. Ain't no bending in this guy. This is a stand-up guy. I didn't know what a stand-up guy was.
Right.
And from there, a lot of doors opened up for me.
A lot of doors opened up.
A lot of doors opened up for me.
Stand-up guy.
Yeah. So Terrell decided to leave Warner Brothers, and they gave me his job. And that's how it all got started. But I went back to college. I got back into the school, finished up and everything. And in 1994, that's when I joined Interscope Death Row, officially. I joined Interscope Death Row in 1994. That's when reality hit.
Talk to me about the West Coast boot camp.
Okay, guys, the West Coast made records When Pac said, use this term, a military mindset, that's real. The way the West Coast made their records, the way they structured their records, the way they promoted their records was state of the art. I had never seen anything that smooth before. The way Dr. Dre set up his recording process, the way Interscope took those recordings, I saw the handoff, I saw the marketing, I saw the promotions. Coming from the sense of being a musician, yeah, I understand music, I can play. I understand the E flat or C sharp from a D natural, but joining Death Row and Interscope, I learned what I didn't know. When I learned how they promoted records, when I saw how DJ Quick could make an 808 sing like nobody I've ever seen before, once I was immersed into their West Coast culture, I brought that back to Dallas in sense of what I learned. Now, let me give Rap-A-Lot credit. Rap-A-Lot was getting down the same way. Rap-A-Lot had the exact same system. Rap-A-Lot was doing it the exact same way with the same precision. So was Suave House. But what I saw different with Death Row and Interscope is this major label Interscope was fully vested, was fully committed to promoting Death Row records. Even though Death Row was a straight up street label, Interscope was 100% committed to promoting its acts. Everything went like clockwork. I learned a lot from that, and I brought that back to Iconic.
So talk to me about the welcoming to Death Row, like the infrastructure and everything, like stuff that you experienced that you brought back to Dallas. But talk to me about that experience. Like,
let me first tell you this, and this is going to shock a few people, but I can explain. Suge Knight was the best A&R executive I had ever seen. I had never seen Suge Knight. Marion Suge Knight was the best A&R executive I had ever seen, because the first thing he did, he secured Dr. Dre.
The sound.
Think about the chess moves. Then he goes and gets a cat nobody had ever heard from. I thought he was gonna get Warren G. That was Dre's brother. That's what I thought. No, he went and got a cat nobody had ever heard from Long Beach, named Snoop. I heard about him, but when I saw him, I never heard him rap, but when I saw him and looked at him, I said, he's a star. That's a star.
What made you know that Snoop was a star just by looking at him?
Because he looked and lived up to what I thought he would look and be like before I met him. And when I saw him, I saw how he conducted himself. I saw how he interacted with his crew. I saw the respect they gave him. I was out hustling hard. See, I'm from Dallas. I'm watching. I ain't from here. I'm catching the ball. I'm acting right.
Yeah.
When I saw how Snoop conducted himself and how they conduct and how, man, I don't care what Snoop did. Suge was like, okay, fine. Snoop want this, okay, fine. Snoop was thinking about this, okay, fine. I never saw that. I never saw Suge act that way before, but Suge knew what he had.
What, for people who are just hearing us talk about Snoop acting a certain way, Suge them running the ship a certain way, what do you see that's not relevant in companies or acts today that was very relevant in Death Row and Rap-A-Lot, as we spoke about?
Artist development. The difference was artist development. Dr. Dre was developed. Regardless of what you may say about him, he's a groomed, very refined man. Snoop is a very refined man, very groomed artist. I'm gonna tell you something. Let's look at economics. Let's look at the economics of Dr. Dre. Let's look at the diverse economics of Snoop. That alone tells me Suge Knight's the best A&R executive I've ever seen, because he put both of them in the game.
Yeah.
Both of them. And then when they needed some help, he went and got Pac. Tell me another record executive that can top those three signings in hip hop. You got BayBay and Slim that developed Lil Wayne, and you got that's a powerhouse. I understand it, but BayBay and Slim didn't just go out arbitrarily and sign these people
from different.
I'm gonna put this guy with this, and I'm gonna put this with this. Let's look at what Suge was doing. I sat back and watched Suge. I wasn't watching Pop. I wasn't watching Sean Bonnie and Rebel Thomas. I wasn't watching what the DOC was doing in the sense of coming up with all those ideas that everybody loved him for. I was watching Suge because every move this man made were multi-million-dollar moves. Every time he made a move, I saw the GMP of Death Row go up. I saw the revenue go up. I saw sales that I had never seen. When Suge bragged and said, we made $1 billion, he wasn't lying, because I checked.
How you do it?
Interscope. So I'm just saying, I was able to quantify what this man was doing.
Yeah.
So when I looked at Pookie, I looked at Pookie. I saw the same thing in Pookie as what Suge saw in Snoop.
Wow.
I saw the same potential. So that's why I was so vested in that.
Mm.
Yeah.
You want to be a great, you got to study the greats.
You can't be a general if you've never been a soldier.
Wow. Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I heard you mention rap a lot.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the rap a lot experience. Was Jay that everybody know now or that respects now? Like, what Jay did you meet?
This is kind of the same Jay. It's kind of, Jay to me was, once again, a great business. I'm gonna tell you something. Jay Prince was just as strong as an A&R executive as Suge. Let's take a look at his signings. Let's look at Scarface. Let's take a look at Devin. Let's take a look at there were a consummate amount of artists that came from Rap-A-Lot with great production. Let's talk about N.O. Joe. Let's talk about Mike Dean. Let's talk about Beto. Let's talk about them because these were consistent producers. Rap-A-Lot on par was doing the same business what Atlantic was doing with Busta Rhymes and what Interscope was doing with Death Row. On par, without missing a beat. And I respected them. I made money with them. They put a lot of money on my table. So their family just like Death Row. And the thing about it, you got to take a look at. If I'm out of Dallas, straight up out of Oak Cliff, BayBay, I'm consulting Death Row, Rap-A-Lot, and Suave House. So you should know that I would know how to run my own label. And that's where we're getting to. We're going to get to it.
Yeah,
but I'm building it up.
Yeah, we got to get to it.
Building it up.
You talked about militant mindset. You talked about what did you see like with the artist development? Like, you know, because we heard the stories, you know, man, you get your ass whooped, you know, you ain't on your shit in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think those type of tactics played a part in getting the best out of the artists?
No, I think that contributed to the destruction. I think there were two things happening at the same time, and I think you can, if you allow me to point it out, you can see it. However, these cats, their code or how they chose to be as men or gangsters or whatever they wanted to be, I understand that. A man makes his choice in life. When these so-called gangsters, these cats could be Bloods, these cats could be Crips, but I saw them in the studio working together. When they were working together, they came out with music that nobody could compete with. Wow. At some point, Death Row was the hottest record label, hip hop label in the world because of these two different entities that came together because they loved music so much. Snoop was a straight up Crip, and Suge, they Bloods. But they came together. It seemed like Death Row was a war zone, peace zone. When they made peace and made music, nobody could contend with them. When they were divided, when they turned against each other, anybody could beat them.
So what does that tell us about the black race today? Like,
yeah.
All right, then, cool.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll learn shapes. Tomorrow we'll learn shapes. I see it, and it just baffles me. You know what I'm saying? But to sit here and watch you and listen to you and know that you were there.
Yeah.
And paying attention to the infrastructures.
I paid attention to everything that they did, how they made their records, the photo shoots, the artwork, the time, the fonts they used, the colors they used, the type of CDs that they used. They didn't use normal CDs. They used higher density CDs. That's how I met Bernie Grubman. Bernie Grubman was a part of the recording process to make sure that the mastering process would be on point. I'd never seen that before. See, I learned all of that from Interscope and Death Row.
The Suave House sound off.
Yes. Suave House.
Tony Draper now.
Yes, Tony Draper, T. Draper. Yeah. What I loved about Suave House is Suave House was, the name was a lot like the label. It was smooth. They were suave. They were well dressed. They were very professional. They promoted artists just as well as anybody else. I wish that Toni could have stuck around longer with Suave House, and I wish Suave House could come back. I'm sorry, I'm doing it again. I loved 8Ball and MJG at Suave House.
Yeah, me too. I love them.
Suave House was dedicated 100% to promoting and blowing up Ball and G.
Yes, sir.
Whatever the differences were, could be, it is what it is, but
right.
I definitely respect what they did, and I learned a lot from them.
I ask a lot of times, and I'm gonna ask you, name me a group that started out together and is still together now.
Naughty by Nature.
No breakup.
Did Naughty break up? Hell, I don't know. But I know they're together. I can only count one. I got one. I got one. You got one?
So when I think about Ball and G, I just think like, I know they put out solo projects, but I just remember it was always Ball and G.
Yeah, it was always UGK.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It was always UGK. Same thing. And that's another group I learned a lot from. When UGK dropped that front back side to side remix, Suge didn't say what the hell is that. I mean, who the hell is that? Suge said, what the hell is that? Right. It impacted him. He loved that. That remix.
Yeah.
Man, come on.
Something crazy. Oh man. Talk to me about the Tommy Boy Expands.
Tommy Boy taught me a lot because that was me working with the East Coast company. Tommy Boy was what we call a vanguard label because they started back in 1982 with Planet Rock with So they had a lot more experience in working national records. They had a lot more experience in merchandising. They had a lot more experience with that. When I saw what Tommy Boy did with Naughty by Nature, with the merchandising and the whole thing, they really took Naughty by Nature to another level, and I saw how they did it. I studied it.
Yeah, wasn't Paperboy with Tommy Boy Records? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. That was like one of I remember the album cover,
Yeah, that was back in the day.
Yeah, man on that. Yeah. So I mean, I'm really learning a lot, even though, like, say, I paid attention to, and we pay attention to a lot of things. But I'm continuing to hear you talk about branding and how to network and how to work records and how to develop artists. Something that I think is almost a lost art, but not really in today's music industry.
To me, development is segregation. Let me break it down to you. The way a pop record is presented, the way a pop record is put together, the way a pop record is merchandised, the way a pop record is optimized is different from an urban record. I believe that now it has gone back about 30 or 40 years back to when a white man had an album and a black man had a 45. And if a black man sold enough 45s, he'd get lucky to get an album. And that's how they did it. I think that what they did was they systematically brainwashed certain artists to not want to be a major artist because they gave them a word that hit them like crack called independent. When you segregate yourself from the money, you're not doing anything good for yourself. And I've only seen a handful of artists who can, from an independent standpoint, make the kind of revenue that you would get from a major label.
Give me some
situation.
of those artists that you see do it.
I'm gonna give you an example. I think Tech Nine does well independently. He's the best I've ever seen.
Yes.
Snow the Product does well independent. One of the best I've ever seen. But like I say, the Tech Nines and the Snow the Products are gonna be few and far in between.
Yeah.
But if you and I were at Capitol Records and we had a budget and there was an artist here named Jonathan, we could get more done with $100,000 than what an independent can do with $1 million.
Absolutely.
They don't have the connections. They don't have the plug.
Network.
They don't have the resource. They don't have plug to access to the network. Without that, you're handicapping yourself. But they never told pop artists that they should be independent. Mm-mm. Nobody ever told Adele to be independent. They only told black rappers to be independent. And they institutionalized them to cut everybody out of their business so it would all be theirs. But what they did was they cut you away from your power source so you won't have power. You know what I'm saying? Nobody could tell me I don't need Clarence Avant.
You ain't gonna make it past this interview. They finna send a missile in here right now.
Yes.
You take the battery post off of a battery, and the car's only gonna run so long. It needs the alternator.
If I'm going to come out with a product where the BayBays of the world take notice, I need to be set up and I need financing. I have to be buttoned up. Without that, it's not gonna have the same mystique. It's not gonna travel. It's not gonna blow. I don't care how good it sounds. Records don't move by might. Records move by muscle. And I learned that from Interscope. I learned that from Death Row. I learned it from Rap-A-Lot. I learned it from Suave House. I learned it from these labels. I learned it from Iconic. I never would have positioned Mr. Pookie. I never could have positioned Mr. Lucci if I had never positioned other records. It was an academic process.
Southern stability.
Yeah. That is when I found out that Southern labels don't know how to put out records. I found it out. I said, Southern labels don't know how to put out records. They can't control their stability. They can't create an infrastructure. Now, we talked about Atlanta earlier. Atlanta always had an infrastructure, even from the times when Larry Blackmon moved his record company and renamed it Atlanta Artists and moved to Atlanta. When LA and BayBay moved to Atlanta, the infrastructure was being developed there. They have so many banks. They have law firms with 150 lawyers, all black. They have the infrastructure to create a LAFace and all of those labeled the Little Johns and all of that came from Atlanta years ago. They had the infrastructure to do that. That's why it was easy for Clive Davis to cut that deal with L.A. Reid for LAFace and BayBay to get all that product because they had the money, they had the budgeting. Toni Braxton, all of this came from one vacuum system.
Hurricane Chris.
Yes.
BayBay.
Yeah,
yes. Clive Davis.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. So this was able to happen because they had the infrastructure. So when you go southwest of Atlanta, the knowledge fades.
Yes.
The experience fades. The know-how fades. And a lot of people are trying to figure it out. And some of them are trying to cut too many corners. And they got caught. So that's what that's about.
We ain't gonna make it past this meeting. Who is Anthony Washington, man?
Anthony, oh man, let me pause for my brother because he's no longer with us. Anthony Attitude Washington was a guy who I met. He was everywhere I was. When I was putting up posters, he was already there. When I was going to the next retail store, he was there waiting on me. He was always a step ahead of me. He studied everything I did. He would ask questions. I didn't even know him. Why you use that staple gun? Why you use those kind of staples? Why you like to bump and roll your flats? Why you cut them off? Why you do so much? You do that because do you treat Rap-A-Lot the same way you treat Death Row? How does it not become a conflict of interest? How do you maintain a relationship with Jay Prince and a relationship with Suge Knight? Have they ever got mad at you? How do you balance out the relationships? He studied me, so he became my assistant.
How did you balance the relationship between a Suge and a Jay Prince?
Because I know how to get along with people. Because I know what they want. I know what they want, and I know how to get it for them. So when a person sees you as an asset, they'll find a way to get along with you.
I laugh because people are trying to figure it out, how you could be cool with the big Crips, the biggest Bloods, the biggest GDs, the biggest whatevers, and still be yourself. That's what a lot of people are trying to figure out about.
Yeah.
Who is Fred Reed?
Fred Reed was Anthony Washington's friend. Now here's where it gets deep. Fred Reed from McKinney, Texas. He's got a cousin named Cool B. I met with Fred and Cool B and Anthony Washington. Fred Reed and Anthony Washington already knew Stoneycrook. They knew Luke, they knew Pookie, they knew K-Rock, and they knew C-Pone. They knew those guys before me. Fred and Anthony Washington came to me with the idea.
With the vision.
Hey, Kevin, you promoting all these records and you affiliated with all these people. We done met people through you, met MJG through you and da-da-da-da-da. We got some rappers. We think if you show them a little time, man, and put some work in. I think we could come up with something. I said, okay, what's the cat's name? He said, his name is K-Rock. I said, okay. And the other cat, he can freestyle real good. His name is Capone. I said, okay, they call him Mickey Mouse. It's okay. I was like, okay, whatever. I took the meeting. I was like, okay. So they was like, K-Rock, won't you mind spit a couple of bars for this brother? K-Rock started rapping. My whole mind changed.
What was different about Rock, man?
He could speak perfect English and he could rap in perfect English. What I mean by that is he wasn't a wee Finster type of guy. He could speak perfectly English when he rapped straight. This type of thing was a commodity. He wasn't trying to rap like anybody else. He sounded exactly like himself. Capone was one of the best freestylers I had ever seen in my life. I had never seen anybody. And I would literally I knew he couldn't have been lying to me. I was telling him what to say and he was doing it.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with him. Capone, unfortunately, through a previous incident, got incarcerated. So K-Rock was like, I'm not gonna do it by myself. I'm gonna get my other partner. His name is Pookie. I want you to meet Pookie. So I was already impressed with K-Rock and Capone, so Pookie could not have disappointed me. So Pookie showed up and man, I put a track on. Pookie tore that track up. He made me go back and reproduce it. I said, nobody's ever gonna tear me up like that again.
Yeah.
So Pookie jumped on Coming Up the Block Hitting Hard, which was on K-Rock's debut rap record. He took the first verse and a star was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the deal with that.
That's where I came into the realm of Kevin A.
Right.
Partner of mine named Nate had a record store in Arlington at 360 in Arkansas, 1997. It was the hottest in Arlington. And that's when we used to transport the music back and forth from Dallas to Shreveport.
Right.
Jabberjaws. Rolling in my 1500.
We blunted with that South Coast boss baller. Yeah.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Yeah.
My partner Nate had a white Suburban, pearl white, 15s in the back. I ain't never heard no shit beat like that.
Yeah.
The way that shit sounded in that vehicle sold me on K-Rock.
You know what? That's the one thing I was never able to convince them of. The money was in the product.
Yeah.
You got to realize something. We were on Forest and Adelia in an apartment. We weren't in a studio with an SSL console. We never got mastered that way. We recorded and mixed and everything in an apartment.
Bullshit.
We were competing with No Limit. We were competing with Suave House. We were competing
Cash
with
Money.
Cash Money. And we
Right.
were literally working out of an apartment. The money was in the studio. The money was in the Mac computers. The money was in the software. The money was in the cables. The money was in the artwork. The money was in the photography. The money was in the things that to make your record qualify against another record. What I was competing was, if you're sitting on the shelf and you're debating buying a K-Rock record and a Biggie record, I have to make you buy a K-Rock record. So I had to make my records just as good and sonically sound just as good as the major labels. And that's where the money was. It was in the competition. I didn't care about flossing and driving around in cars when you need to be paying your bills with that money. I wasn't a drug dealer. I didn't have excess money to spend bands on this and bands on this. What we spent, we had to make money from. We were micromanaging from the very beginning, but I put the money in the product, and the product was the proof. As they say, the proof is in the pudding. Well, there you have it.
My. The Rockwell begins production.
Yeah. Working on the Rockwell record was very difficult because, and I can't totally blame K-Rock, because this had never happened in Dallas, Texas before. Not like this.
Yeah.
When I told him, hey, we're going to put the record out, we're going to go after radio, we're going to work retail, we're going to get in the streets, we're going to be in corners, he was like, man, you lying. You ain't about to do all this, man. You ain't about to. Man, come on, man. What's your angle, man? What's your deal?
Yeah.
And I told him, no, I'm really going to do this. We're really going to put the record out. He didn't believe me.
Right.
He really didn't believe. K-Rock could tell you he believed. No, he didn't.
I use a unicorn.
Yeah.
Nigga never seen that shit.
Pookie, once again, quiet. watching the whole thing. I told Pookie, I said, listen, man, I really love your brother coming up the block so hard. I don't know if K-Rock and I are gonna make it. We don't get along very well. But Pookie, if you give me a shot, I will make sure that your record is one of the hottest records in Dallas, Texas history. If you don't leave, because K-Rock was gonna leave the label.
Yeah.
So K-Rock left. But I promised Pookie, I said, hey man, if you stay with this, don't quit. If you stay with it, I guarantee you'll see the other side of the world, man.
Talk to me about the Rippler.
The Rippler project was supposed to cover a lot of turf. One, Iconic had to facilitate the same way Interscope was facilitating Death Row. That's the same way Iconic was facilitating Stoneycrook. If you look on the back of, well, no CDs anymore right now.
You look on the back of the CD.
You look on the back of the CD, it's not an Iconic logo that's prevalent, it's the Stoneycrook logo that's prevalent, because the plan was for Pookie to have his own imprint, have his own label, Stoneycrook Records. And it was also a plan for Lucci to have his own label, because Lucci technically was not Stoneycrook. He was just Stoneycrook affiliated. He was with him, we was cool, everybody was cool. But Lucci wanted his own thing, Pookie wanted his own thing. So the Rippler was an attempt, a demonstration, a remonstration as showing that a Southern label could facilitate a hit record, not just own the record and it's all about the Kevin A thing. No. It was about Iconic facilitating Stoneycrook and putting Stoneycrook on the map. And that's what that's what we were really up to. And that proves to major labels that you know how to create product, you know how to develop artists. These are the things that you have to show in order to be investable. Or somewhat, you can create commodities, you can create IPOs. These are the type of things that get structured, equitable deals.
Anti-progress.
Yeah. Anti-progress came about when I started trying to explain to Dallas rappers and Dallas producers, this is how it really works.
Yes, sir.
This is how it really works. This is how we put out records. This is how we would promote the records. They had a different definition for everything. And their definitions weren't the real definitions. This is not how it's done. This is how you don't put out a hit record. This is how you don't have a hit record.
Give me an example.
Well, to a certain extent, certain cats, when they wanted to do business with me, they were trying to make the rap business like the dope game. And it wasn't a dope game. This was business. You can't give me an ounce of weed for a beat. That type of stuff started back then. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be a fifth of Weller's half open for a beat.
What year was this?
Oh my God, a whole lot, all of it. They started really feeling like, hey man, if I could homeboy up to you, I could get out of the court of business and I didn't have to do all the requirements that it take to get tracks from you or work with you.
Familiarity breeds disrespect.
Yeah. So they were trying to play this fake chummy game. And I'm like, no, let's just sit down in the court of business. What are you trying to do? And what is this? Well, Kevin, I know you don't work with people. Kevin, I know you don't work with features. It's not that I won't. It's just I don't. It's because nobody's ever came to me and structured something that made sense to me. And I'm gonna give you an example of it. When Chifa came to me, Chifa made sense. I'd never worked with Chifa before, and I'd never done a feature. I did one with him. You know why? It made sense. I didn't try to run everything. I didn't have any. What Chifa came up with when he worked with Pookie, with Lucci, I wasn't there. I wasn't controlling what he came up with. I wasn't controlling what he did. I let them do their own thing. My game plan was to back away from them, let them do their own thing, and protect them. You see, so that was what I was trying to do, was provide stability by bringing what I was doing with Interscope and Death Row and Wu-Tang and everybody else, and tell the Dallas cats, this is how you really make records. This is how you get on the charts. This is how you make millions of dollars. This is how your children go from being dependents to being heirs. This is how they do it. And when I tried to tell them, they were like, nah, man, that's BS.
What do you think bred that? Like being too close to him, or?
I kind of think that if I hadn't have gotten the opportunity from my band directors, I would have been just like them. I would have been thinking, I would have thought, hey, the way this person told me, that's the truth. And if somebody else had to try to tell me something different, this was my partner. So why would I listen to somebody else over you, even though my partner was telling me wrong? So sometimes you have to have the wisdom within yourself to know BS from Shinola. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Lord.
So, you know, when I don't mean to be a broken record. I don't mean to keep saying this, but like I said, when I tried to tell the Dallas guys, hey man, this is how you really do it. This is how K104 is gonna notice you. This is how these people are gonna take notice. This is how, and I said, these guys at radio stations, they live, they eat, they breathe music 24 hours a day. They know who's hot. They know who's up and coming. It's their cred. It's their job. It's your job to get on their radar. They don't have to come looking for you. They don't owe you nothing. You owe yourself. So if you owe yourself a check and that putting out records this way is the means by which it is done, that's what you do. And that's my motto.
Right.
You know, that's just the bottom line.
Rap hustle, music business. They're two different things, but they operate within each other.
Yes, but here's the thing. Only when the rap hustle is aligned with what the business needs does it work together.
Point proven.
You know, you could be at any record company. You'll see record executives. Hey man, he's got on sweats. Or hey man, he's just got on some sneakers and a cap. But this guy could have overseen over $500 million worth of deal structure. You know what I'm saying? You're just looking at him because he's got on t-shirts and jeans. This guy's got, you know, a $10 million here on the table. He's got a $15 million here. He's got an $8 million here. And these records, these deals that he already has are making probably in excess of 15 to 20 to $30 million a year. And he's getting his percentages based upon his structure and him being involved in those records. Dallas rappers didn't see that part of it. They never saw the four corners of a contract. They didn't learn that. They were running from that. They were trying to homeboy everything. But see, that homeboy shit falls apart when money comes into play. None of it got airborne. You know, there's an old saying, and I say it all the time. As long as people all put together can't put a down payment on a box of matches, everybody cool. But the minute you get a nickel above starvation, people start getting represented by the law firm of Nah, but see, and but see now. Because what they end up saying is, nah, fool, see, this all I heard, fool. All of a sudden they catch amnesia when money comes into play. See, the homeboy game don't really work.
No.
It never has.
Yeah.
But they were trying really hard to make it work because they were trying to get around the business.
Yes.
They treated business like it was a cancer, and that's what was keeping them from getting paid, and they were exploited because of that.
I think that's not just a Dallas thing. I think that's across a certain region. Because it's not just Dallas. Like, we'll educate them. We'll keep trying to educate, because I've learned that if you give us a golf club, we can become Tiger. Give us a basketball, if that's really what we want to do, we become Michael. Football, look what we become.
Yeah.
So I think it's our job as pioneers to keep educating them.
Yeah, it is.
Until one or two get it.
Yeah.
And show them that they can go from there. Mr. Diabolical.
Yeah, the Mr. Diabolical project was done behind Pookie's project because, see, here's the thing. People don't know this. Pookie could have got a multi-million-dollar deal off of his record alone. Let's keep it real. I understand people have their thoughts about Mr. Pookie and Mr. Lucci, but I want to make this very clear as being the president and CEO of the label and produced every song that came off that label. Mr. Pookie's record was the Kick Door record. Mr. Pookie did that. It was Crook for Life. When I was a senior in high school, when I was in music theory, let's go back to E flat C sharps and D naturals. I wrote a Russian march. It was a march, a composition for music theory.
Yes.
The composition that I wrote in 1986 when I was a senior in high school is Crook for Life. I gave Pookie my thesis, my music theory. Yeah, that's and I still have the composition. It's actually written out. I wrote it in 1986. Oh, Crook for Life is a Russian composition that I did for my music theory class. It's two. See, the first part is Crook for Life. The second part is Slab. It's a march. It's a Russian orchestral piece. One half of it is Crook for Life. The other half is Slab. I gave one half to Mr. Pookie. I was trying to make sure this stuff hit. And people don't know that. And I never spoke and I never told anybody. But those compositions I wrote a very long time ago.
So you didn't get at the Southern either, did you?
No.
That's right. Thank you. You got to cut aside. Yeah. I'm into the business.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you're a businessman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Talk to me about the deal of a lifetime.
The deal of a lifetime came. Let's get deep.
Take the time, Bishop.
We're getting ready to get a little deep.
I got time.
Now, let me draw a picture for you. Mm-hmm. Let's suppose I'm independent. I'm putting out records myself. I'm not affiliated with a major yet. Mm-hmm. When you put a record out and you go, let's say you go to a Sam Goody, Musicland, Blockbuster, what have you, back in the day. Mm-hmm. When you went to the counter and you said, hey, I want to sell product in your store, you'd have to fill out a consignment form.
Yes.
Okay? Mm-hmm. When you fill out that consignment form and you give them that product, from the time that consignment is closed, which is once they sell it out, they have 90 days to pay you. 90 days, 3 months. So let's say if they came to me and said, hey, we want 1,000 Mr. Pookies. Really, you need 3,000. But you're short-stopping me. I'm going to give you a lot of record company terms here. Short-stopping is when a retailer is trying to keep you from being hot. They're blocking you. They got to have something in the house because people are coming in the door looking for your record. But they don't want your record to be a hit. So they only order enough to say they ordered it, but they order just small enough where they're always out. So if they should order 2,000 pieces or 3,000 pieces, they only order 1,000. It's going to last them maybe 4 or 5 days. But they know they have 90 days to pay that invoice. So I got money in pressing this product. I got money in shipping this product from the pressing plant to my facility. Mm-hmm. And I got another pressing bill to send it from where I'm assembling, where my place is, to this retail store. I got costs involved.
Right.
So if I give them 1,000 CDs, it only lasts them 4 or 5 days. They come back and ask me for 1,500 CDs when they should have asked for 3. They're short-stopping me, right? So they're causing me to have to go back to the pressing plant and press another 1,500 pieces to satisfy this order. They call back 4 or 5 days later, they're short-stopping you. But what you're doing, they have 90 days every time. 90. So what's happening is you're spending your money now. You're not going to get any of it back for 90 days. That's called double clutching. Double clutching is when you got to go back to the pressing plant and repress before you got paid off the first product. If that keeps happening and you double and triple clutching, if you're doing independent A&R for a major label, that's exactly what you want to see. Because that means that that record company can't keep up with supply. That is very, very, very typical of an independent with a hit record. But what dollar stores was doing, they were misreporting it as well. It got real deep. So I couldn't keep up with the demand. Because if people, man, I want your record, man, but every time I go to the store, they out. They were short-stopping me, and they had me in debt because I was pressing up all this product, and it took 90 days. By the time I got paid off that one invoice, hell, I had 9 more orders in the process. So me getting paid off that first CD didn't do a damn thing for me. I was in debt. If I and let me tell you something. If all of y'all are grown, if you grown, on paper don't mean a damn thing. You could say, man, I make $75,000 a year on paper, but if you get it in pieces and you don't ever have 75 or 80 or 150 at one time, I could break you.
Yeah.
I can break you.
Yeah.
So what was happening was, that's what they were doing. I was at war with retail. I was at war with the artists. The artists were going, where's the money? I'm like, do you see what they're doing? They're dumb. But then too, these artists had never put out records themselves, so they didn't understand what was going on. I did.
You talking Chinese to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when Warner Brothers stepped in, Warner Brothers said, hey, we want to date. We don't know if we want to marry. We want to date. We want to date Iconic. We don't know, but we like what we see. Priority said the same thing. We like what we see, but Priority had Master P, and Priority and Master P was Big Cheese.
Yes, Lord.
And I didn't want to go where he was because he was going to make sure all the time was on him. So I said, you know what? Dino DeValier, great man, flew me to New York. We sat down. I met with Monty Lippman, and we structured something. It made sense. But Warner Brothers was like, we don't care about you talking to Universal because we're going to blow them out of the water anyway. Here's what we want to do. Here's what we want to do. We want to help you with your pressing problems. We want to help you with your pressing problems. And I said, okay, well, let's negotiate the deal. They were like, we're going to help you. I was like, well, let's define help. Let's define help. So we went around the block and we were kicking it back and forth. And I'm talking about we're some savvy negotiators, and I really like a challenge in negotiation. They were a challenge, but we struck an equitable deal, man. We really did. Yeah. And here's what's going to get deep again. I got a call from a senior vice president of retail. He said, Kevin, we got a problem. I said, what kind of problem we got?
Good problem, bad problem?
He said, it's a bad problem. He said, there's a significant amount of counterfeiting and bootlegging that's coming out of Dallas, Texas, and your product is prime. We're gonna send some boys down there. I never heard a major label talk like this. We're gonna send some cats down there and find out what the hell's going on. And man, they sent some people. And
somebody was bootlegging out here?
Say, bro, they came to me, they bought, here's how slick they were. The guy that did it, he was a former insurance adjuster. So you know his game is about lowballing, right? So he went to the store, he got 2 Mr. Pookies. Watch what he did. He got 2 Mr. Lucci's. No, he got 2 Mr. Lucci wasn't out. He got Mr. Lucci, he got K-Rock, he got some by Biggie. I think it was Ready to Die. It was something I don't distinctly remember, but it was a Biggie CD. And then he got somebody else like Ludacris, just for fun. He got 2 of each CD. Watch what he did, 2 of each CD. So I was in a hotel. He put the CDs on the table. This guy's a master. He said, I can tell you right now, just like, he said, this is fake, this one is fake. He showed me a Biggie Ready to Die CD with another Dallas, Texas record company artist on the barcode. Dig me. They showed me a Mr. Pookie CD with another artist barcode on it. So when they were buying the Mr. Pookie and scanning it, some other group was getting credit for it. Getting deeper. I'm about to get deeper. Let's get deeper. Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper.
Who Kool-Aid you pissed in?
No. They were pissing in mine. They just didn't know it yet. So then check this out. It goes even deeper. The guy said, I ain't never seen nothing like this. He said, but I'm gonna tell you something. And he opened up the boxes and we hit him with, it's a beam. It's a certain reason. He said, now the Mr. Pookie CD that's a counterfeit, the CD itself is the same counterfeited as Biggie Ready to Die. Whoever counterfeited this one did this one. Now who we hunting? I already knew who it was. Man, I was about to beat the shit out of this dude. He was about to catch death row. He was about to catch Rap a Lot. I wasn't giving a damn what Pookie, what the guys were saying at this point, because I knew that I was losing a significant amount of revenue. But K-Rock, who was no longer with the label, let me tell you what this G did, and I call him a G because of what he did. He called me out the blue one day, man, and I know K-Rock. I know when he ain't lying. I know when he not lying, man. It's something that he does when he telling the truth, and he'll fight behind it. I know him. K-Rock called me one day. He said, "Say, K." I'm like, here we go. We're about to get into it. He said, "K, it's way more CDs out here than what you pumping, man. I know you couldn't have done this." I said, "What you talking about?" He said, "Man, these CDs ain't ours. They don't even play right. K, these CDs counterfeit." I jumped up out of the studio. I shut the studio off, went to my lawyer's office. I said, "We're gonna deal with this one of two ways. We're gonna deal with this from a business standpoint, or I'm gonna walk in that store and deal with it from a street standpoint. Now, how you wanna deal with it?" Warner Brothers said, "Don't do nothing. Don't do that. Don't alert them to our presence." I was like, "Say, man, y'all not taking no loss." I am. They were like, "Don't do that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." They said, "Yeah, something else we want to talk to you about. You know when we said we wanted to date, we want to marry. We want to marry." I said, "Okay." I forgot all about the counterfeiting. I said, "Well, sit down, man. Let's get this man a cup of coffee." So
And the rain.
we started talking. He said, "But now listen, let me just tell me." I mean, they said, "Now listen, this Pookie thing, we ready to go with Mr. Pookie. How would Lucci feel coming up on the Stoneycrook?" I said, "Lucci's not gonna do that.
On his own imprint.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not taking that to Lucci.
On his own island.
He wanted his own thing, and he was rapping for it." And let me first stop and say it was three main principal people with Stoneycrook. It was Pookie, Mr. Pookie, was Mr. Lucci, and Mr. Montes, Ramontes Price. Mr. Montes was the third. It was three people on Crook for Life. Those three individuals were the three principal rappers at Iconic at the time. So the thing we wanted to do was we held off on doing a deal because it was only going to be predicated off of Pookie. So we waited, and I went into production on the Mr. Lucci record, Mr. Diabolical. And I so wanted Lucci to hit. That's why I gave him Slab. Slab wasn't on his album. It was on the Texas Freestyle Massacre that came out after. But anyway, I wanted him to impact so bad. I put everything into it because I knew what I had done for Pookie. I wasn't gonna give him no less, man. But the law stipulates you have 90 days before you get your first royalty check. 45 days after we dropped Lucci's album, they left the label. Lucci left before his first royalty payday. So it's totally fraudulent that Mr. Lucci says he left because he didn't get paid. That's a lie. BayBay, he wasn't supposed to get paid yet. He left before his payday. That's why I charged him with fake gangsterism. That's a serious charge, but I charged him with it. Because if we were in the process of trying to close this deal, we held the deal up for him. Pookie was ready to go. We held the deal up for him. I don't care about what somebody else is telling you that can't do a damn thing for you. I don't care about the record companies that you meet with that aren't even record companies. You know, once again, once you get a nickel above starvation, everybody knows everything about everything and they don't know anything at all, man. So once I started conflicting with that and realized he left before he even was supposed to get his first royalty check, how in the hell did he get screwed? He didn't. And then on top of that, why would I produce all of these records so meticulously and drop the ball on all three of them when all of them had a first and 1A goal? They had a first down at goal line because of me. They were shoe-ins and they blew it. I'm telling you, I don't have any fear of saying that in front of any one of them's faces because they know they had the opportunity of a lifetime and they blew it. They blew it for absolutely nothing. Because I don't see any reciprocity. I don't see anything that came from leaving. I don't see anything. But had they continued on the path that was laid out for them, any problem that they ever had about me would be long past them by now. They'd be writing their memoirs now because they were on the right path, man. They had the right people. They went to dinner with Death Row. We went to the Papados right there on Lemon. They got the wink and the gun. They were telling them, man, y'all shoe-ins, man. Just put out good music, stay out of trouble, stay out of the back of a police car, and you get nothing but a check. Told them. And they still jump ship for absolutely nothing.
Prince Rupert pays off.
Prince Rupert Lowenstein. Prince Rupert Lowenstein was the late Prince Rupert. He was the business manager for the Rolling Stones. He was the reason why the Rolling Stones was $1 billion group. I studied everything Prince Rupert said. I read everything he wrote. I stayed up with him. There was a chance telephone conversation that I could have with him through somebody that he knew very well. And the person let him know, hey, this guy, Kevin Alexander, he's a big fan of yours. This guy he reads what you say. This guy knows you know what's happening. So there was a lot of exchanging back and forth. So the business structure of how I structured the agreement with Mr. Pookie and Mr. Lucci to be a services agreement in which Iconic was set to produce and promote the Stoneycrook projects came from the knowledge from Prince Rupert. I studied this man. This man was a business mastermind. When it comes to merchandising, when it comes to understanding accelerated and decelerated income averaging, when it comes to offshore banking, when it comes to American Express banking, that's where the black card notion comes from. This whole thing came from Prince Rupert. The Rolling Stones were a multi-billion-dollar organization. I didn't say million, billion, about 25 or 30 years ago. It was a billion-dollar organization over 20 years ago. So how much money do you think they have now? They own banks. The Rolling Stones own banks because their accounts are too big for you. Just can't FDIC 40 and 50 billion dollars. You need a bank to house it. So the inner workings of the banking structure and the financial system I already understood. I was just trying to put up the right records to facilitate this system through. And that's what Iconic and the whole Stoneycrook thing was really all about.
Hey man. You ain't gonna make it past this interview. Who is Gerald Busby?
Gerald Busby, oh my God, that was another great man. Let me give you a background. Gerald Busby signed and discovered a group called New Edition. He had a hand in marketing a lady named Diana Ross. He helped put together a label. He helped structure Motown when Motown became Motown Universal. He was the business executive that did that. He was the guy that, I don't know, he was really pushing hard for Chocolate City to sign this group called Cameo. I don't know who he is, but I'm just saying this guy's legendary.
He ain't nobody.
He ain't nobody.
Right.
So I met Gerald because Gerald Busby, the crew that ran Interscope, was from Gerald Busby. Gerald Busby was kind of an elder mentor to a lot of cats that were elder mentors to me. When DreamWorks was put together, when Steven Spielberg and David Geffen and all them put together DreamWorks, Gerald Busby came and structured the urban division. He was the guy that brought Gerald Hollister to the label. He came to Dallas. He saw what I was doing. He saw what was going down. He said, I like what you're doing. He said, but I got a question for you. I said, sure. He said, how well do you know these rappers? I said, they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool group of guys. He said, but how well do you know them? I said, what do you mean, Joe? Where you going with? He said, hey man, I got some homeboys that ain't worth a nickel in Mexican money, and they all up in your rapper's ear. So how well do you know them? And I froze, because this is an OG. This is a made guy talking. Yeah. So I backed up, and I said, I crave. School me.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to buck. I'm not, you know, I know.
Yeah.
Once again, you can't be a general if you've never been a soldier.
Exactly.
So I backed up and said, school me. He said, man, listen. He said, I'm gonna have to get at you. So you made 2 mistakes. He said, your first mistake is you were guilty of conducting big business with some little ass people. So that's your first problem. He said, your second problem is these guys showed you one thing. They didn't show you 15 things. No, they didn't. They showed you one thing. They showed you they could rap. Had nothing to do with their character. Had nothing to do with their backbone as a man. They showed you they could rap. They showed you one thing, and you went the whole 99 by yourself, and you carried them with you. And it shows. It shows. He said, you made 2 mistakes in my eye. He said, I forgive you because I see what you did. That music does sound good. Crook for Life is a national hit. But your biggest mistake is you trying to do big business with little ass people. And they didn't have no sense of loyalty or compassion. If you think a major label is gonna break their neck to sign Pookie and Lucci, you out of your damn mind because they looking at their conduct. You don't put money in a damn fool. No matter how good they can rap, no matter how good they can sing. Kevin, how many times did you sit with me, an artist begging, this one artist got a $8.7 million royalty check on a Friday. By Monday, he was broke. And he lied and said the label didn't pay him, and the label screwed him over, and Gerald oversaw the whole thing. And I saw it. I saw what was going on. But Gerald saw it happen to me. And Gerald Busby and Johnny Taylor, he said, man, nothing's gonna become of that. Nothing's gonna become of that. And I had to accept that because this is a made guy talking. So that's when I had to get my lesson. And I'm just being totally truthful with you.
The 3-day millionaires.
That's a good one. That's a good one, baby. Remember when Warner said we want to marry? Well, a lot of people wanted to marry at that point. But nobody knew that there was friction between us. Nobody knew that Pookie and Lucci had basically left the label. The deal of the century was structured, and I got the notice on a Wednesday. Now, it wasn't legal because I have to run it by Pookie and Lucci, of course. It wasn't signed, it was deal in principle. Mm-hmm. So when I got this information on Wednesday, it wasn't just a multi-million-dollar deal for Pookie, it was a multi-million-dollar deal separately for Lucci as well. This is what we had all worked for. Before I could get everything in and be able to look over things myself and make sure what I'm saying is just, before I could let them know, I got my lawyer contacted me on a Wednesday. I was tap dancing on a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. That Saturday, they announced to the world they were no longer with Iconic Recordings. And they blew everything. They were multimillionaires for 3 days. Yeah, man.
You bullshit.
I wish I was. Everything, I mean, when I say they gave us everything we asked for, they gave us everything we asked for. We had over $300,000 a year just to run an office, just for faxing and FedEx and whatnot. We had, I mean, I think Pookie was gonna walk away. But see, here's the thing, here's what I did. Once again, Prince Rupert. I didn't structure a recording agreement. I didn't structure that. I looked at the NFL, I looked at the NBA, because sports has a unique, sports agents and sports lawyers maximize contracts better than entertainment lawyers that do record contracts. So an artist is just like an athlete. You're either restricted agent or you're either restricted free agent or unrestricted free agent. You're either one of the two. By me structuring the deal with Pookie like it was a deal that you would do for an athlete, he was guaranteed more money up front. He had a better equitable deal. Cash Money had put out a succession of records, and they got a $30 million deal.
Really?
Pookie and Lucci were at that level with one album apiece. One album apiece. That's why I'm saying it was so equitable. They were there in their first record. They had a 1st and 1 at goal. They were multimillionaires for 3 days. I was calling them.
Hello.
I said, man, I think we need to talk. I think you may want to hit it. Nah, man.
Fuck Kevin A, man. We out here.
Yeah. But they didn't realize they were kissing off their future. You know, my mom used to say, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Mm-hmm. This is the textbook example of that. Let me tell you this. If Pookie and Lucci had came to me and told me, I didn't know they left. I didn't know, I was the last to know. They didn't even have the decency to sit down with me as a man and tell me, hey man, this is a decision that we're gonna make. They didn't tell me, they told everybody else. I found out hearsay, you know. But had they came and talked to me, I would have told Pookie, okay, Pookie, I tell you what, I give you $1 million on your next record. I give you $1 million. No questions asked. $1 million. I knew I could guarantee it. Nobody else could, but I knew I could because that was going to be an anticipated record. So let's take your contract the way it is right now. Let me do an addendum to it, guaranteeing you $1 million. You'll make $1 million for me on your next record because they'll be anticipating it. But if somebody wants you, if somebody wants to sign you, tell them to come bring $1 million. You're a restricted free agent. Let's see how much they really love you. Let's see how much they really want you. Let's see how much they really dig your music. Let's see how sincere they really are. And that was going to be a humbling experience for Mr. Pookie. Mm-hmm. But see, he left before that lesson could be made. And even Lucci, Pookie's biggest problem, he never should have listened to Lucci. He never should have listened because he was the one that walked away from the most money. He the one that put in most of the work. If it wasn't for Pookie, there wouldn't have been a Crook for Life. I don't rap. So he walked away from his money. He walked away from his equity. He walked away from his power. You can't recover from that like that. It's difficult. And that's what happened.
When did the conspiracy unveil?
Oh man, in pieces and phases. Pieces and phases, man. I mean, it took some time, man. It took almost a year. Because the deal had a year shelf life on it. They gave us a year to work it out. And we met a year later at the Chili's on 635 in Preston.
Yeah. What was that like?
I said, listen, guys, are you sure you want to walk away from this? This is almost about $20 million a piece. Are you sure? Lucci said, yeah, man, you can keep that, man. We don't need that. We're going to be all right. And I looked at him, I said, no, you won't. No, you won't, man. And I said something that I will forever regret.
It is.
I regret what I said because it was blasphemy in a way. I said, we as black men, we as men, whatever color you are, you ain't overcame enough to walk away from $20 million. You ain't overcame enough for that. Martin Luther King will kick your ass behind this one. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have. But I knew that this money was real. And I knew that my lawyers had charged me $87,890 to negotiate this deal. I'm at almost $100,000 negotiating the deal. I spent $30,000 on a Crook for Life video that never saw the light of day. I took a $480,000 write-off of some independent retail stores and swap meets and bazaars, bootlegging the hell out of my music. But when you walk away from money that will give all of us prosperity, you a damn fool. Ain't no G code worth being a damn fool. And that move that they made was the move of a damn fool. And I will say that firmly on my name because too much work was done. Lawyers was mad. Record companies were mad. Where the hell they gonna go? You just dissed Universal. You just dissed Warner Brothers. Where are you about to go? They're talking about you. You think they love you so much, who signed them? Did Dr. Dre? Kevin A, here's a meal for Pookie, here's a meal for Lucci. Did anybody show up? No. Who signed them? Nobody was gonna sign them. When they left Iconic, they destroyed their careers. You put out mediocre ass records behind it. If it wasn't for my record, if it wasn't for the record that I produced for Pookie and the record that I produced for Lucci, they never would have been big. The records that they did behind Iconic should have been the records they did before Iconic. Maybe they would have learned what they had. I knew what they had because I saw everybody else eating like that. Man, I'm gonna tell you something. I almost got into a fight with some cats that rap a lot. But I almost got into it, but they was telling the truth. They said, say, Kevin, let me ask you something, OG. Why is it that we 4 hours from y'all, man? Why the fuck y'all can't make no hit records, man? Why y'all so fucking whack? Why Dallas rappers so fucking dumb? What's wrong with them old punk ass, dumb ass niggas? Why is it that Bootsy, right there in the boot, this dude puts out quality product? This back then it was Boots and Webby, you know. Them boys put out quality product. New Orleans know how to put out product. Shreveport know how to put out product. Houston know how to put out product. Oklahoma know how to put out product. Hell, a Gap Band came from Oklahoma 100 years ago. Oklahoma is on the map because of that. They got cred. What Dallas got? Y'all buy everybody else's records. You worship everybody else's sound. You ride everybody else's jock. You the most identityless market I have ever seen in my life, but you absorb everybody's music. You buy everybody's music. You throw a West Side and your ass from North Dallas. Why you have an identity problem? Why you don't love yourself enough to put out quality music and compete with us? But we can ride into Dallas. We can make all the liquor. We can drink all the money. We can mash all the bras right in front of y'all, and y'all will help us. You open up your city tours. Y'all not no G's, man. Y'all not real G's, Kevin. And I don't understand why you get it and they don't. Suge used to say the same thing. He said, damn, Kevin, we sold more records in Dallas than we did Southern California. How the hell did they buy so? Man, what is wrong with that market? When they say they buy records, Dallas used to buy records like to the point where it was like, record companies used to call me, hey man, we got this Busta Rhymes. We know if we can get you on it, Kevin, you can bring in Dallas. We don't even need these other markets because we're gonna sell so many records out of Dallas. Oh my God. It was known.
Hey, I'm gonna stop you right there because still to this day, even in the digital world, the homies from different cities always try to come and say that Dallas is the most streaming market, their highest streaming market. And since you releasing your truth, and when I came to Dallas, I saw that Dallas didn't have enough stars in my eyes that were on a high platform like other cities.
Yeah.
And like I tell a story like often by me being from Shreveport, like Shreveport had its stars, right? Mm-hmm. Dallas had its stars too. But I just felt like Dallas they never got their just due. Mm-mm. And so when I came to Dallas, I wanted to do that for Dallas. Like I didn't come to Dallas and put Shreveport on. Yeah. Now I came out here with a sort of like a chip on my shoulder being from Shreveport, but I wanted Dallas to be for Dallas. Yeah. And that's why I dropped my nuts at Kwanzaa Fest, putting Chief on Kwanzaa Fest. I ain't need to check with the powers that be. Mm-hmm. He said he sold a lot of CDs. The streets say he sold a lot of CDs, that if we put you on stage, everybody's gonna know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I already knew what Pookie and Lucci and K-Rock and the Rally Boys and Cottonmouth mm-hmm. did my first birthday bash. Mm-hmm. So I already knew about those, but they said Chief was, and I did my little due diligence of checking around. Said, he's hell, man, you can't keep your CDs in the goddamn store.
Mm-hmm.
So I dropped my nuts. I said, hey, he coming out with me on Kwanzaa Fest.
Mm-hmm.
2 days later, his record was in heavy rotation.
Yeah.
And after that, I just continued to always alley-oop artists.
Yeah.
Because you never come to another man's city and don't show them first dibs, first love.
I didn't want anybody else interviewing me because of you, because of what you just said. I respected you from afar before you came to Dallas. Made guys that I knew, friends of mine, respected you, and I saw what you was doing in Shreveport. I'm gonna tell you something, man. I envied what you did in Shreveport, and we needed that so bad. We needed what you did in Shreveport. What you were doing, if Dallas artists had somebody who was in your power with your platform, who didn't lie to them, fake music competitions, fake signings, behind the scenes cutthroat deals. I saw all that happen in Dallas. You were doing it right in Shreveport. That's why you were winning. And when you came to Dallas, I couldn't believe it. And I wanted to meet with you because I wanted to tell you the truth before somebody else could know you before me. And then when I met you, me admiring you from afar, if I had met you and you had already had that smug look because somebody already told you, oh, yeah, Kevin A, man, they do Kevin A. And if Ed had went that way with you, I think that would have hurt me. As a man, it would have hurt me, man, because true credibility is not supposed to suffer that way. I don't believe that I did things to merit some of the things that were said about me, and I couldn't take that from you, so I wanted to get my lick in first. I wanted to get to know you first and explain to you where I was coming from and where this market was, and I wanted to tell you the Philistines and the Amalekites who were there waiting to try to trip you up because they did not want you to succeed because they kept this market barefoot and pregnant for themselves. And when you came, you brought a prosperity, you brought credibility. You brought that. We hadn't seen that way. You know, a lot of people come through or what have you, but BayBay, you actually brought real hip hop credibility. And you personified it every day since you've been here. I didn't want anybody else, and I talked to Jonathan, I didn't want anybody else interviewing me because I didn't feel like I could sit across from somebody who would know exactly what I was talking about. There are moves that I saw people that I didn't like try to make on you, and I saw how you handled it. I really liked you then. I really liked you then because I liked the way you handle your business. Guys like Jero Busby, guys like Step Johnson, guys like Jimmy Iovine, they look at how you conduct yourself. They look at conduct more than anything. That's why Dr. Dre has the world, because it's the way he conducted himself when Jimmy saw the fallout between Death Row and Dr. Dre. They watched how Dr. Dre conducted himself, how cool he was, how he didn't lose it. He didn't run up and down the street, running his mouth and things like that. Those conduct like that is unbecoming. When you are looked at by peers, like you say, the Little J's and the Tony Drapers and the Sylvia Rones and the Clive Davises of the world, they look at how you conduct yourself. Yeah. And then you have to look at it. If individuals are going to entrust you with serious, equitable amounts of money, they have to know that their money is safe with you. If I have a fiduciary responsibility to my other investments and my other partners, I can't run up and down the street jumping on Pookie and Lucci because they talking about me when I'm still making money with my other partners. They're watching me. And I can't let the lesser than be the greater than and mess off all my paper. I couldn't let that happen. So I had to maintain myself, take due notice thereof, and govern myself accordingly. And I waited until now because it benefits me. It benefits me to come out now and speak because I'm about to relaunch Iconic, and I don't want people confused about my presence, but I want them to know the truth about me. And if they disagree with me, that's fine. At least you know where I'm coming from. That's what this is really all about.
Absolutely. The seclusion.
I took some time off. I knew that changes were about to come in the music business. I knew CDs were about to be over. I knew the digital realm was coming. And I knew that black music wasn't gonna survive in the very beginning. I knew that there was an agenda to make sure that pop music and crossover music was digitized first. I know that for the first 6 to 8 months of the creation of iTunes, they didn't even have urban music. I knew that digital was the way in which pop music could finally get the leg up on urban music, because before urban was 80% of the revenue of those major record companies. When it went digital, it flipped. It flipped. And when it flipped, it was so drastic. They went to the rappers and said, you don't want to sign with us. You don't want to sign with us. You want to be independent. You don't want a major deal. You don't want $30 million. You just want to put it out on YouTube, and whatever you get, just keep it as all yours, and just get in a picture with it all on the side of your body, because that's all the money you have. You know what I'm saying? And then we play, and it's nothing wrong with that's called single. It's called single pocket money. It's single pocket money. If you say, okay, I'm gonna give you an example, guys. This is what's cold. I had it was Warner Brothers. They said, listen, man, we got this guy we want to sign. They're out of this market. We want you to pay you as a consultant. We want you to meet with the group, kind of prime them, let them know what this is about, and let them know what we're trying to do. We really are, we're really positioned to spend about, I don't know, $3 to $4 million up front. And we're gonna spend about $150,000 on a single. Yeah, they were structuring it. So the rapper brought a friend of his, just a homeboy. So the homeboy met with Warner Brothers and the rapper met with Warner Brothers. So I'm watching them. So the record executive is like, Kev, watch this. I said, okay. So he said, okay, here's what we're thinking about doing. They laid out the whole plan.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
It was all gravy. They were talking about doing big things. Went back to the hotel. His homeboy finally spoke. He said, say, man, they talking about your project with them, the first record. This major labels don't leave anything to chance. They quantify everything. We know that you're gonna make about probably $3 to $5 million off your first record, but it's gonna take about anywhere from $800,000 to $2 million to do it in expenses. Mm-hmm. The dude said, man, they're gonna make $2 million off you, man. $2 million. Damn the other money that the artist was supposed to make. All he was focused on is, man, we need to go back home. We need to drop this record on YouTube and make all the money. We just need to stay independent. And I said, Kevin, what you think about that? I said, I think the man said totally about 8 million that they knew that could really be done. He was trying to be conservative, but he knew that he knew based upon the instruments they have and the levers that they can pull, they can make about $8 million with this, but it's gonna take about $2 million to do it. So that leaves about $6 million for you. His homeboy had convinced him that $2 million, they were screwing him. Yeah, fool, they making $2 million. Say, man, you got some record executive, some R&B Negro making money off of you, telling you when to get up and go to bed. You need to be independent. We could take this album and leak it, but man, don't you know if we go to the Pity Pat Club, we could make about $500 a night off of this.
You're the Pity Pat Club.
I said, here we go again. But Atlantic gave me that assignment to teach me a lesson.
Watch this.
They said, watch this. Ain't this what you was dealing with? I said, damn, man. Yeah.
Hey, Kevin. The more I get to learn niggas, the more I realize why Noah only took animals on the ark.
Man, I saw it. I mean, and then, me just watching the guys. And I mean, I could have went the long route and tried to educate him and talk to him, and after a while, after going through what I went through, this was post Pookie and Lucci rapping. So I looked at him, I said, that's the problem with Southern rap. That's the problem with Southern hip hop right there. They're so narcissistic. They're so narcissistic, they can't see past, sometimes a person can't see past what they want out of it, they can't think about what they're giving to it. Right. And then sometimes you could walk away from more than what you think you're walking to because you can't transpose the lingo.
Yes.
And the label wanted me to be there because they said, these guys are not gonna understand what we're saying, but they putting out great music and they don't understand business. But watch how they screw themselves. So I couldn't say, well, the major labels are not offering deals and they offering these old trick deals. No, when you sit down with a rapper with no sales history, no major sales history, and say, we can make you $8 million, but it's gonna take 2, so you make 6, and he says that's a bad deal, you can be the best rapper in the world. But if you're a horrible business person, it does not matter.
You made that statement, and I wasn't gonna say nothing about that, but there's like a little cloud that BayBay could do more for Southern artists. I'm expand the bandwidth, the area. I'm not gonna just say this particular art, area, this particular area. But I watch how people want to be managers and want to be CEOs, but they're bad business people.
Yeah. See, and let me explain something to you. When I first came into the business, when I met that Italian guy, he told me, he said, you could be a mediocre artist, but if you're a great business person, you will go further than any talented artist in the history of the business. And let me say this, and don't get me, and I'm gonna say this with respect to Master P. I respect Master P. Master P wasn't the best rapper. He wasn't. He was the best. He was a better businessman. And in the end, even to this day, he prospered greatly because he was a better businessman.
Yes, sir.
He was a businessman. I felt that, and I understand that Suge, my main man. That's my main man. I felt that Puffy was a better businessman than Suge. I just felt that. And I understand, why my loyalties are, but I felt that Jay Prince was a better businessman than Puff Daddy. I felt he was. I felt that because Jay Prince knew when to get out there and Jay Prince knew when to stay at home. Jay Prince knew when and Jay Prince knew when not. You know what I'm saying? Understanding
what about 50?
50 is a very good businessman too. I think 50 is a good businessman, but 50 kind of gets real deep in his beefs. But if half of what I heard happened to him, we was doing independent A&R at the time when 50 did the whole G Unit thing. If what I heard is true, the way they tried to stop him, the way they tried to knock him and block him and kill him, I could see why he went that demented after certain people, though.
Yes, sir.
I could see it if half of what I heard was true. See, here's the thing about 50. There was I forgot the name of the club, man. It wasn't that big. He had a club date. It looked like Freaknik, man. It looked like Kappa Beach. It was more outside the club. They had about 4 or 5 helicopters surrounding the club. Interscope was filming the whole thing. Interscope filmed the whole thing. And that's when Interscope made the decision. How are we going to acquire him? How do you do it where it looks right? Do you run it through the Aftermath or Slim Shady? How do we do it? That's when they formulated it. And let me tell you something about the power of a major label. When they decide that you're going to be a hit, you're going to be a hit.
Absolutely.
That first album on 50 Cent, I'm talking about, you got Jimmy Iovine involved, you got Dr. Dre involved, you got heads involved. When you got those kind of heads of state involved, you get tracks like Many Men Wish Death Upon Me.
Yes.
You get tracks like that because you got nothing but A-list producers. This is an A-list record. You got In the Club from Dre. Probably one of the most powerful, potent club bangers that he had ever made, in my opinion, at the time. So when you got that kind of heavy hitting action around you, yeah, you're gonna be the next dude. Yeah. And the Interscope said, but see, here's the thing. Interscope will always be my favorite label because even when I first joined Interscope, they were tinkering with something very powerful. Pay attention to this. They were telling me They said, Kevin, we're perfecting something. I'm like, what are you perfecting? We're gonna make
The mad scientist.
Yeah. We're gonna make a hit record. Not. They were like, no, it's not. We're not gonna wait 4 or 5 records. We're gonna make a hit artist, an institutionalized household name in the first single. I was like, say what? Yeah, we've got this thing down. We're no longer gonna, only 3 and 4 records before you get a buzz. Oh no, you're gonna be a multi-platinum, multi-millionaire, kabanga banga in your first single. And I was like, prove it. They damn did it. Because when they did Snoop with their gin and juice, that was them experimenting with it. Nationwide, 3,000 spins a week. They did it with Snoop, they did it with Kendrick Lamar, anybody they wanted to. When they dropped Kendrick Lamar's first single, he became a damn near Willie Nelson heritage artist. And the first damn single. If Interscope wants you to be a hit, you're gonna be a hit. That's the most powerful record label I've ever seen in my life. And when I say that, I'm giving you the examples. When Kendrick Lamar, his first album, this dude was a vanguard artist. He damn near was getting Lifetime Achievement Awards in the first damn album, man. I watched them do it. They did it over and over again. They did it with Snoop. When Pac left Digital Underground, they did it with Dear Mama. They did it over and over and over and over again. Tupac was in the penitentiary. They got him out the penitentiary. How do you get a man out the penitentiary? They did it. I watched them do it. So what I'm trying to tell you is you can't fight that kind of power. You have to be smart. And that's what I focused on being. That's why Iconic was created. That's why I didn't start Iconic in Los Angeles. I didn't start Iconic in New York. I started it in Dallas because I wanted to give Dallas artists that opportunity that they weren't given because they were being systematically denied by the majors.
So it sounds to me like I'm hearing the rebirth.
Yeah, there's going to be a rebirth of Iconic, but you know it's going to be a little bit different this time. I'm not going to produce everything. I'm not going to put everything on my shoulders like that. There are other producers who are very well capable. Some records I won't have anything to do with, and some records I will. But I want people to know that, one, I didn't mess over Mr. Pookie and Mr. Lucci. That's the most important part. I didn't mess over them. It didn't make sense to me. Why would I mess over my paycheck? Why would I spend all this money in legal fees to negotiate a distribution deal and not pay you what you have coming right now when I know I have to get paid too? Mm-hmm. I never would have done that to them. I never would have done that. I never would have done it to myself. Had they given me the opportunity to explain myself and talk to them, we would have got down to the bottom of it. And anybody that told them any different, I would have handled them wherever they were. I didn't have a problem with that. But I never got the opportunity to stand up for my own manhood and my own actions. And I felt that was unprofessional.
So I got to ask you this because I'm optimistic. When Pookie and Lucci see this, what do you think they'll feel?
You know something, man? If you get a chance to talk, and you get a chance to talk, and you get a chance to talk, and you get a chance to talk and talk, there's never pushback. There's never a correction. There's never a cross-examination. And you only hear yourself. You get comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. But the day came for me to talk. I didn't say anything I don't defend. I don't say anything I don't believe. I didn't say anything I'm going to back down from. I'll say it again. Mr. Pookie and Mr. Lucci had the opportunity of a lifetime, and they blew it. K-Rock just flat out quit. Because I honestly think that if I had to put on them what I saw at Death Row, if I had to put on them what I saw at Rap A Lot, they never would have came out with a damn record, man. They never would have came out with a record, bro. And I'm being dead ass honest about you. And if they had left at Rap A Lot and talked like that, they'd be hanging from a flagpole, and you know they would have been. I didn't do that because I knew that they had done enough damage to themselves. There was nothing left for me to do. So I think that as a man, and to this day, have I talked to Mr. Lucci? Yeah. Have I talked to Mr. Pookie? Yeah. I have more of a thing with Pookie because of what I saw him go through personally. He went through a lot. What Pookie went through, I don't know a lot of people that could have made it, man. And he and I, and believe it or not, I talked to his mother. I spoke with his mother one time, and I told her everything, baby. I told her about people that I felt were fraudulent, and she said, I know that guy's fraudulent too, because he lied and told you where she knew everything. And that was Pookie's mom. So I'm gonna say this to you, man, you know, they're good guys, man.
Yes, sir.
But they thought that they could finesse it when you have to be a chess player. It's not about, sometimes people just wanna be local superstars. They just wanna walk around, hey man, that's so-and-so, yeah, that's dude. And you know, you walk in the club, everybody looking at you, yeah man, that's the dude. That means absolutely nothing to me. Because the people that run the music business could walk in this room and they'll walk right by you and you wouldn't even know them. Once again, the guy with the t-shirt and the jeans, hey man, this guy's got $70 million worth of deals that he's closed in the last 2 years, man. This guy's major. You don't even know him. That's what the real music business is about. Some of it does have its elements of being anonymous, but I think that I had to come to the forefront because I had to represent myself and I had to say I didn't mess over these guys. But I know the inner workings and hidden mechanisms of the music business, and I've done this all my life. I can call the dice before they stop rolling. I know this business.
Okay, Red Fox. Okay.
Yeah.
What the next point is then?
The next point is the rebirth of Iconic.
Gotcha.
Giving artists, again, giving them a chance.
Artist development?
Yeah. Yeah, without artist development, it won't work.
Good budgets?
Yeah.
Fair contracts?
Yes. Fair contracts. Yeah.
Kevin A.
BayBay.
My God.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's get